If you've ever felt like a turning point was calling you, quietly at first, then unmistakably, this episode is for you. Reiki found me through major life transitions, breast cancer, the unfolding of purpose, and eventually my mom's hospice journey. What I didn't expect was how personal it would become. It came as embodied wisdom, a way to be present when life asked me to show up as a grounded presence. Today, I want to share how Reiki showed up in my life, not just as something I practiced, but as something that guided me from within. Welcome to the Divine Soul Podcast, a safe place devoted to helping lightworkers, starseeds, and seekers embody their multidimensionality during their earthly experience. Join me for practical tools, heart-centered guidance. Grounded rituals, and heart-centered guidance. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Aubrey Kyung, Dragon Priestess, Reiki Master, multidimensional channel, and intuitive astrologer. I share tools like energy practices, astrology, mindfulness, and grounding rituals that help you feel grounded in your body so you can expand, evolve, and experience everything this physical plane has to offer. Reiki found me in this lifetime, not as a trend. It was more like a remembering, an embodied wisdom. It was a way for me to stay present, especially when life was asking me to show up grounded when I didn't know how to. And today, I want to share the different ways Reiki has shown up in my life because it wasn't just something I practiced, it was literally guiding me from within. In 2019, I walked through breast cancer, and after I was searching really for a way to get my moon cycle back online because I had done hormone therapy and my menstrual cycle stopped. And someone that I knew recommended acupuncture, and I didn't even overthink it. I was like, yes, let's do this. Do you have a recommendation? And when I met my naturopath, I literally felt this instant connection. And we both recognized that we had known each other through lifetimes before on earth and that we have done this before, whether I was a healer for her or she was a healer for me. And it was those moments that your body knows and your mind has no idea how it already knows. It's the moment when the body knows, but the mind has no way to explain it. It was a sunny day in Oregon, and I had settled into my acupuncture session. I was laying on the table, really getting into my breathing to just calm the heart rate and to just relax. Those sessions were ultimately a portal every time. And about 10 minutes in, I thought I heard the door open. And really, it was just one of those draft guards sliding across the floor, but there was no one there. I recall lifting up my head and expecting to see my naturopath. There was no one there. And at that point, my system was just like, what's going on? Who's in this room? Do I really hear that? Or is this something that I'm just making up? And then I felt the light touch of a finger move from the big toe on my left foot all the way up the side of my body, and it landed on my right shoulder. And while that was happening, my mind was spiraling of like, oh my God, what is happening? Who is here? I don't know who this is. But my body was almost remembering, but because my mind was spiraling, my heart was racing. It felt like my eyes were like popping out of my head. And I did everything that I could to chill out and to return back to my breathing so that I could just relax for the rest of the session, which I don't think I ever actually relaxed for the rest of that session. And then my naturopath walked in. I don't even know how long after, and she turned on her floor lamp, and it just started flicker. It flickered 3 times. And if you know me, 3 is my number. I have 333 tattooed on my hand. I have a 333 necklace, and the response was, "Oh, someone's in the room." And I have no idea what the conversation was when I left there, but all afternoon, the only thing I heard was Reiki. And so I went down the rabbit hole, as my Virgo sun loves to do. And I did everything I could to find information about Reiki. And then I stumbled upon, I say stumbled, I was presented a photo of Usui Sensei. And you know when they have those movies when they talk, like there's a painting and it like the eyes are following you? This is what that felt like. When I looked at his photo, it was like, I know you, but I don't know how I know you. And that's the thing that felt familiar, but also a little uneasy because my mind, again, could not explain this. And I arrived home, I opened up Instagram, and the first post was my Reiki master teacher offering her level 1 virtual training. At first, I was like, I don't know if this is for me, but eventually I signed up for it. And after Reiki level 1, my life completely changed. It was the catalyst for my spiritual awakenings. It felt like a remembering, but in order for that to happen and for the change to happen, everything in my world that was familiar had to come crumbling down. And I meant everything: my relationships, the way I thought about myself, the way I moved in the world. And it literally got me questioning everything about who I am. And it was this time in my life that I was so hungry for the knowledge, the experience. And that was ultimately the beginning of how I am in this moment right now. And it didn't just, Reiki wasn't just shifting my beliefs, it literally shifted my perception of reality. Then I signed up for Reiki level 2, and it felt a lot different. I had time to integrate every awakening that was happening in my life after Reiki level 1. And I thought that I was going to quit the family business in finance and I would just start right away offering one on one sessions. But instead, it wasn't that, because I had so much more to experience in my life. And the other thing about Reiki is that through each of the cohorts, I was reconnected with certain people that I call like soul community for the first time in this lifetime. And some of those people I still talk to, some of them I don't, because I believe that everyone comes into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime, even if that is soul community, because we decided that we would meet up at this time and then we would help each other through this and then we would go on our way. And I always send the best and highest good for those individuals because at one point we were connected and they were here helping me and I was helping them. And during each Reiki level practitioner training, Queenie would implement a 21 day, Queenie would implement, for each Reiki level training, there was a 21-day self-Reiki detox. And in those 21 days, you were asked to practice self-Reiki. And what I learned through that was that the self-Reiki was where everything started to come together, but also still have no idea how everything connected. And during that 21-day detox of my Reiki level 2, I was laying on my couch, the couch I'm sitting on now, and I had this vision. And when I was in Reiki level 2, my gifts were just beginning to come online. And my clairs, like, I still wasn't seeing much with my third eye. So this for me was very overwhelming and almost like a, what is happening? Is this like, am I really experiencing this? Is this something that I'm making up? And I was standing at a podium, looking out at a crowd of people and speaking clearly. I want to thank everyone for being here today. And I talked to someone about what the vision was, and I was being prepared to be the grounding energy for my mom's transition in the years to come. Now, I didn't know how far in the future that was going to happen, but that was the message that came through, that I was beginning the grieving process then, so that when it came time for the physical world, for my mom's physical vessel to start transitioning, that I had already grieved it and was in a place to ground the family in order for my mom to have a comfortable transition and also my family. And honestly, I had to sit with that because I was like, wait, what do you mean this is happening like this? How do I know when it's going to happen? Like, how do I tell the family? And the first thing was like, no, I don't tell the family. It was me making sure that I did this for myself and that there were some people in my life that knew what was going on. But it also allowed me to do this in a couple years. It was like 2 years because my mom passed away in 2024. And in those years, so in 2022 was when I got that vision. And then I didn't plan on becoming a Reiki master. I was like, okay, that's good. Like, I'll do Reiki level 1 and Reiki level 2, which is like, hindsight now, it's weird to me because like 3 is my number. So why wouldn't I have gone to do like Reiki level 3 master? And it was actually my ancestors that were like, you're doing it. You know, the same ancestors that told me I was going to do radiation are the same ancestors back in 2022 that were like, you need to become a Reiki master. This is just something you need to do. There was no reason for it. There was just, you need to do this. And I said, okay. Because again, when my ancestors tell me to do something, I trust in what they're saying because I don't see or feel or know what they do. And I always trust and know that they're here for my best and highest good and that they're here to guide and protect me in ways, again, that I don't see or understand. And so when the opportunity came to become a Reiki master, I was like, yeah, let's do it. And I felt really grateful because it was Queenie's first Reiki master retreat. And something about me in this lifetime, I am someone who goes to a lot of first retreats. I feel like I am an energy who goes with a grounding intention for a retreat because I've gone to 5 retreats, and out of those, every single one, it's been the first one. Damn. Every single one has been the first one. I digress. So I got to fly to LA, and then I drove to Joshua Tree with one of the other women who was in the cohort. And it just felt so magical. I personally really love Joshua Tree because so many magical, whimsy, weird things happen, and you can never expect what will happen. You can only leave there being like, oh my God, yes, like Joshua Tree was magical once again. And another thing I think that's really weird that happened is that we were in this beautiful Airbnb, and we were sleeping, and then all of a sudden this alarm goes off, and it's the carbon monoxide alarm. And that thing got up to like 90 something. And I feel like it set at like 60. And I laughed because I was like, it's because all of our dragon energy was just breathing into the house. But I thought that was really interesting. And we were all like safe, but it was just like, it was jarring to wake up and be like, what's this alarm going off? But like all of us are safe. Shout out to April for taking care of that. So the Reiki Master Retreat was another preparation for things that I didn't understand yet. And when I returned back to Oregon, I had integrated things and I was like, okay, yeah, like we're a Reiki master now, like we're just taking care of ourselves. And then in 2023 is when I found out that breast cancer was back. And becoming a Reiki master was that next level for me to be able to heal in such a spiritual way because I had this new connection with divine source energy. And I knew that I had this community of souls who were there to support me in different ways. And honestly, it was giving me a experience to move through breast cancer with more grace and more humility and just being present, because in 2019 I was not present for it at all. And I finished the second round of breast cancer, and then in 2024 I went through radiation, and then I finished radiation in January. That gave me 6 months, because in the end of July of 2024 is when my dad decided we would bring in hospice for my mom, and we would bring it into the house because my mom had been in and out of hospitals like all my life and all her life. So my dad wanted to make it comfortable for her. And so I didn't understand what I was stepping into. It was this role that I didn't have a name to. And I ended up becoming her death doula in a way that I couldn't name or understand until actually about a couple months ago, when a soul sister had talked about her experience with her mom. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I was doing, but I had no words. But it was also this feeling of like, I've done this before. I've done this for lifetimes. There was even a part of me that like, oh my God, I'm going to become a death doula this lifetime. Like, I know that I would be really great at this with people. Like, I am really great at that. But it was like, I needed to step away from the energy because I was still in the energy. And it was interesting because since I wasn't working, I was at the house all day. I would come in the morning and I would set the energy of the house. I would make sure my mom was comfortable. I was supporting my dad because he was watching the love of his life since high school transition. And I was contact point for all the hospice workers. I was also the gatekeeper. That's just sort of how I am in the family. I am the gatekeeper. I was handling the things, that I didn't want my dad to carry, or necessarily like my siblings, because again, I had had 2 years to grieve my mom's passing. And so this was me able to step up and be that person for the family, be the matriarch in a different way. And to be the gatekeeper, it really did matter that my dad and my siblings would be able to see mom more comfortable and an energy that was very peaceful and calm and grounded, not something that they would have to go into a hospital and you'd hear all the beeping and have the doctors coming in and out and all that kind of energy. And my mom was still here as we entered into August, and we are in August right now of 2026. We are in eclipse season. Eclipse season, if you're not aware of it, is a very intense time, an energetic portal where things will quickly fall away and manifestations will come in quickly, but it's going to be intense. It is so intense. And the more aware of it you are, the more you see it, and you see it around other people. And so those 2 weeks in August, I was in this creative flow that was absolutely alive and intense, and a state in which I was like, how was this happening? I'm not really sure, but it felt like I had opened up and created this portal, this container for my mom and for the family to come through. Because now I understand that I am someone who creates containers of for energy, what depending on what the intention is. But this again was for my mom to be able to transition in her own time, which I love my mom, and she like does things on her own, in her own timing. And so it was so expansive and beautiful and sad at the same time, because it was just like, there was life that I was creating, but there was death happening in my mom, and there were crows that were witnessing it all. There were two crows that would sit on the roof, and they would always talk to me when I would come in, and they'd always talk to me when I would leave. And it was just this beautiful spiral of life and death and rebirth all within this time frame. And then it was a Friday afternoon. It was really stormy in August, which was sort of odd. And it was just my dad and I. It was quiet in the way that thresholds are. And I was called to channel Reiki to my mom for the first time ever. Because when I had gone through all my trainings, it wasn't something I shared with my family, because it didn't feel safe to share with my family yet. And so I was just doing it for myself. And so I sat on the bed, and I had one hand on her forehead, and I had one hand on her heart. And it felt like the energy was just like rushing through me. And telepathically, I was telling my mom that, we're all going to be okay here, that, you're going to feel so much better when you go to the other side. You don't need to worry about dad. We'll take care of him. Don't worry about Jimmy. Jimmy's my mom's dog. We'll take care of him. Your family's over there. Your parents are there. You're going to dance. You're going to sing. You're going to be smiling. You're going to feel so good. And I saw her dancing with her family, because she always missed her parents died when she was like 30. Her mom did, and she was really close to her, so there were moments of that. And it was interesting because something else came through, and there aren't very many people that I've told this story to, but here we are. And this energy came through that I will describe as a reptilian energy. It was not benevolent. It was not love and compassionate and of my highest and best good. And so I channeled love and compassion to my mom for about 15 minutes, because I was just getting these messages about my mom and the shifting of her body. And it was, at one point, she became a science experiment with all the medications, because they wanted to see how long she'd be able to live with all these medications that she was on, all these scans. She also had a pacemaker. She had so many things. And all I could recall was knowing that this energy was not going to win. I was going to continue channeling love and compassion and kindness and gratitude, and that love always wins. And this was something that, like, my soul knew it was happening, but my head was like, what the F is going on right now? And then, like, at one point, thunder and lightning just crackled through the sky, and then I felt my mom move through my body, and she crossed the threshold, because in their bedroom, there's a doorway into their bathroom, and I just saw her cross the threshold, and she was this really vibrant, iridescent light. And she was just standing there, like, smiling. And I was just like, oh my goodness. And my dad's sitting next to the bed crying. And I was just like, I don't really know how I'm doing right now and what is supposed to happen. And so, like, I stopped channeling energy to her. And then I just sort of like sat back. And then I think my dad came to, and he wasn't crying as much. But 2 nights later, my mom transitioned. And they say that loved ones will wait until their person is out of the room. My dad stepped away to shower, and Jimmy was the only one in the room, and he had yelped when my mom had taken her last breath. And then at 3 a.m., I got the call, and I rushed down to the house. And when we were waiting in the room for the morgue to come, there were 3 songs that came on. The first one was Aubrey. I am named after a song. It's a 70s song by Bread. If you ever want to listen to it, listen to it. And then there were 2 other songs, and those are like my mom's songs. And that's when I knew that she was on the other side, and she was sending her love. And at that moment, it was this feeling of like, wow, this is what Reiki has provided me to do for other people. Because what I recognized was Reiki was for me, but it was also for me to be in service for others, for my family in this way without understanding it when I was literally in the eye of the storm. And a lot of the time, especially if you are a light worker, starseed, seeker, and you've been on this journey, that you understand that it's always hindsight, and that when you're in the energy, when you're in that eye of the storm, you just roll with it, and then you understand it later. And it might take days, it might take decades. And then I really understood that this practice of Reiki has helped me return to myself, remember that I am a divine soul, an extension of divine source energy, and that it allows me to be present and grounded and calm and at ease and clear, so that I get to show up as my best and highest self as life is moving through me. And I eventually stopped trying to do a one-on-one Reiki practice business, because I finally arrived into the understanding that Reiki is for me to stay, like I said, grounded, present, at ease, embodied, so that I can go higher, so that I can expand, so that I can hold space for other people, so that I can create containers for people to feel safe, calm, grounded, and at ease in their body. And that I can call in that kindness, that compassion, that gratitude. And I focused on group things. I use Reiki every day for myself and for when I go into the studio with my staff and the members. And Reiki flows through me. Every morning I sit down and I am making sure that Reiki is flowing through me. So every conversation, every interaction, the impact that I am here to make for the collective, Reiki is running in the background. And I share all of this because right now we are in this time of a great shift of the collective, and Reiki reawakened my intuition. It reawakened all my gifts. It stripped away everything that is not true for me. And I share this because my hope is that people who are called to Reiki practice Reiki, become attuned, learn from someone, no matter who you're called to. Because I also believe that I believe that the teachers you are called to learn from, it's for a reason. You may not understand it in the moment, but it's something there and to trust it. And I hope that people are ready. I feel like people are ready to remember who they are within, and that everything you seek, you have within. Everything. Reiki was always within me. Reiki has been with me for lifetimes. It's through my lineage. And I also believe if you are called to Reiki, there's a reason for it. So, as I close this episode, I just want to remind you that when life is moving fast, when it feels like things are happening to you, to pause, to remember you are an extension of divine source energy. Everything is always happening for your best and highest good, even if you cannot understand it in the moment. And that there are so many tools and resources out there to help you to not feel alone, because you're not meant to do this physical lifetime by yourself. And that I hope this episode helps you feel less weird, right? Like the story that I shared about meeting my ancestor, who, by the way, the energy in the acupuncture session was an ancestor, and the stories that people want to hear, because these things are happening all the time. And so that is part of why I do share these kinds of stories and just remind you that you're not weird, that this is normal. There are just people that are not sharing it. And I am here to normalize these kinds of things, because I don't know about you, but I would rather hear about these kinds of stories than people talk about celebrities or influencers or things, in my opinion, that do not matter. And instead, these experiences that you have that other people are having, or maybe you plant that seed for that person. Thank you for joining me on this episode. I felt like this one had to come through in a way that it was just sharing my truth. I would love to stay connected. You can find all of that information in the show notes. You can find me on Instagram at Energy, Sound, and Soul. I'm also offering 90-minute birth chart clarity readings. I'm an intuitive astrologer. If you want to learn more about your gifts, about your karma, about your life in this lifetime, I will put that in the show notes. I also am offering a 60-minute channeled dragon reading, where we connect with the dragons and I channel any messages that you are looking for answers. Again, everything will be linked in the show notes. I am incredibly grateful for your time, your presence, your energy, and stopping by my corner of the universe. And if you are watching, you see that I got my technology figured out. Thanks for listening. I'll connect with you in the next one.